welcome back to Ramadan for Youth TV. I hope everyone's having a good day. You guys know the drill. Before we get started with the show, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.
Welcome back as well. For today's Ramadan Talks, we have a very special guest, Miss Yasmin, who does product management and technology. Let's see what she has to say for us.
Hello, everyone. Happy Ramadan, Ramadan Mubarak. I'm here today to talk about about helping others. So, I've been thinking about this topic a lot during Ramadan, and especially because I've been indoors lately. And I kind of took a moment to reflect and recognize that, the goal of being a human being should be just to be a good person, right? And for 2 billion Muslims in the world, inspiration to do that comes from their faith, from Islam. And they tend to find the most motivation during Ramadan. Now, you'll hear described very frequently that Ramadan is a time for reflection, it's a time for, to evaluate yourself. But really, in the end, what this means is to improve on your character and to form good habits, is to pick up new things during this month and to just build upon that and continue it throughout the rest of the year. So you'll hear this explained and expressed numerous times in different talks and online and in different books about what the meaning of Ramadan is and what you're intended to do during that time. So today, I want to talk a little bit about charity, and not in the way that we most often use that word. In Islam, charity is not just monetary, right? In fact, there's a hadith: every good deed is charity, even smiling. Now, on the other side of that, you may have heard and even used the phrase, "You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours," or "every man for himself." Now, these sayings are without a doubt sometimes very much necessary. But you can't really live off of these things as principles in life, or else you'd be miserable, right? So let's talk about what's going on right now in the world to connect with all of this. The coronavirus. It has forced millions and millions of people indoors. Some of them are students who can't go back to the classroom, and some of them are just people who work and can't go back to work. In fact, it's unfortunate, but millions of people have lost their jobs now. Actually, I've even been impacted during this time and have asked very generously and kindly to just be on furlough while the company I work for kind of tries to figure out what's the best way to bring everyone back so we can be in the workforce. But there's always been cities and countries of people needing help and support. Before Ramadan, before the coronavirus, there's always been people in need. But people in need now may be your neighbor, they might be your classmate, and they may even be your relative. And so during this Ramadan, what I would ask is for you to consider spending some of your time on charity. And again, what I'm referring to as charity is consider volunteering to help other people. Many of you already might be doing this during Ramadan. You may have been doing this throughout the year, but maybe it's time to up the game a little, so to speak. So what goes under the umbrella of charity? Let's talk about that. Volunteering your time. You can volunteer your energy. You can volunteer your skills and your knowledge. But you can also go through your closet, look at what's in your room, what you don't use. Is it your clothes? Is it that desk that's just been sitting there and maybe someone else could make better use of it? These are things you can sacrifice. And we already said that even a smile is a form of charity, right? So how about sharing your love and spreading happiness? Some of us have very, funny, silly personalities, and maybe we like to make people laugh. So if that makes you happy and you think you can bring other people happiness by doing that, then go for it. And how about assisting others with projects and tasks? My husband recently had me pulling the weeds out of the yard, and I almost broke my back. I feel like an old woman suddenly, but it was very tiring. I definitely didn't want to do it, and I knew I had to do it. But because it was my own grass, I didn't really feel, it felt like a chore. It didn't feel so pleasurable. But imagine that you do this for someone else. think about the times that you've actually did something for someone else that you really wouldn't have done for yourself, or if your significant other or your parents have asked you to help with a chore, you just kind of like huff and puff or not really be interested in doing it. But think about when you did do it for someone else with no expectation of anything in return, how happy that made you feel. So during one other thing is obviously like cooking a meal, delivering a meal to someone. Now we're all indoors, mostly during this coronavirus. We're physically distancing ourselves from others. So maybe some of these things aren't exactly the right time to do during Ramadan this year. But after the month is done, after this virus is over, perhaps you'll find opportunities to do that. But when you do it, there's another thing in addition to charity and helping others that is considered to be, just being a good human, and that is being generous. So when you're doing these things, consider giving a little, but then giving a lot, right? And starting with baby steps, but then looking for opportunities to take these bigger steps. But don't overwhelm yourself, right? However, try to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to do more, to give more, to share more whenever you can. And trust me, we all know we won't lose anything from it. And specifically, Muslims believe what you give comes back to you in an equal or even better way. So if you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective, whatever you believe in, really, you'll recognize that putting good into the world is going to bring that good back to you some way, somehow. And one question I'd like to ask, you're like me, most likely, I'm assuming, stuck indoors during Ramadan, but are you like me, feeling a little lazy and feeling a little useless? Are you bored out of your mind and starting to maybe behave a little grumpy? Well, the thing that I love that I've discovered about helping others during this time in these past few weeks that I think is super, super cool is that helping others, there have been studies that show that it actually activates areas of your brain that are associated with pleasure and happiness, social connection, and even trust. It apparently releases some kind of endorphins in the brain, these chemicals that boost happiness. So I want to just go over the 8 benefits that I've just through my own research and even my experience, and maybe you have some benefits you can share within comments. Is that the following 8 benefits, right? So the first one is, we already touched upon it. It makes you happy. And I'm sure that you have experiences that you can speak upon where you like even got teary-eyed of how excited it made you feel to help someone. The second thing is that it strengthens social connections to your friends, to your community, and you unknowingly, without any intention, sometimes just form networks. And these networks become important, and I'll touch upon them, how they become important in a little bit. The third thing is that it builds resilience. It affects your perspective in life in a way that you wouldn't imagine. So if you were walking around believing one thing or seeing the world a certain way, helping others actually makes you break out of that. And it changes the way you see the world. It also changes the way you see yourself. And it boosts your confidence, and it does a lot of great things. But it gives you building your resilience really means that it gives you the ability to deal with stress, believe it or not, and it makes the tough times so much easier to deal with because you've changed this like perspective, and now that what's tough to you is no longer as tough as it used to seem. The fourth thing is that it improves your health and overall well-being. We know that it does these things with endorphins, these chemicals in your brain, and it boosts happiness. So what that means is that it decreases your depression. And all of us in life must have been depressed one way, even if not clinically, like we must have felt that feeling with depression one way or another. So it puts you in a better mood, and it brings positivity to your mental and emotional health. And the fifth point is your career. You might be too young to start thinking about this, or maybe you are working if you're watching. But volunteering with classmates and coworkers can actually build relationships and make you bond over something that makes you feel good, and see results in helping other people. And it helps you think highly of each other due to like the kindness and that generosity that you're observing with your own eyes. So this can actually lead to opportunities in the form of like internships and jobs down the road, because people are looking for good people to work with. They don't want to work with people who are grumpy. They don't want to work with people who are not good team players. So all of these, helping other people and being charitable actually builds upon all of that, and just gives other people a good impression of you. And the sixth point is that it gives purpose and meaning to life. So if you're like me, being lazy and grumpy and feeling useless, it actually is like, okay, now I can wake up tomorrow and I know that I want to do XYZ because I'm going to find some, happiness in doing that. And now you're like on a mission to help other people. It's very different than working and making money. The motivation is incredible at that point. Number 7, you're going to attract better people. People who are kind, who are generous, who are thoughtful, and who are considerate, they tend to gravitate towards each other. And even if one person's kind of like not on the same page as you, you can influence them very easily just by the action of helping other people. And the 8th and final benefit that I recognize, and again, I hope you can help to add to this list, is deeper gratitude and appreciation just for everything. You go looking at, if you were to feed the homeless, you come back and you really look at your life from a totally different lens. If you're helping someone, if you're mentoring someone, if you feel that what you have to share is an expertise and your knowledge in a particular field and subject, you find that you just feel so much more grateful for the knowledge that you have. So now I want to talk about the steps to take in order to wrap up. There are 6 that I've put together. 1, during this month of Ramadan, and hopefully with the rest of the year, surround yourself with people who enjoy helping others. Basically, just surround yourself with good people. 2, join clubs at school and work, or organizations, or meetups. There's meetup.com that you can go visit. There's so many cool ways to meet other people, new people, and to do things together. So join those groups where they're working on activities like that. 3, ask your friends to start an initiative together. Don't do it alone. It's always better to do it with other people. 4, go to lunch with new people, find out what inspires them, and get ideas through those conversations. And you will be hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, basically building a network, a relationship, and you'll be generating these new ideas and acting upon them, because now you have someone that might hold you accountable. 5, take baby steps. I know that I said, challenge yourself and take bigger steps when you can, but you always want to start with the baby steps. And if you're too shy to reach out to people, ask open-ended questions. What that means is, say, what's new? How are you? What do you enjoy doing most? And what plans do you have in life? These questions will help spur some conversations that you can find are going to be very inspiring for you. And last, but hopefully not least, do not expect anything in return. Yes, we talked about all these benefits. You will get a lot out of it, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be. And you might have all these great networks and career opportunities down the road, but do not expect anything in return, because it kind of makes you miserable. Now you're setting yourself up for failure if you think that you're getting one thing and you wind up getting something else, or you get nothing at all. And the whole point of helping others really at the end is, to help others and be selfless and find your happiness that way. That concludes my talk. I hope that you find it very beneficial, and please do, like I said, comment what you think you can add to these lists. And happy Ramadan.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Yasemin, for taking the time to speak on our show. Now let's join Dilara in her kitchen for iftar menu.
Good evening, everyone. Today I'm gonna make a Berliner for you. What we need for the cake is 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of oil, half a cup of yogurt. You can add 1 more tablespoon if you want, and 2 cups of flour, 2 packages of baking powder, and 1 package of vanilla. First, we mix the eggs and the sugar. I mix the eggs and the sugar for 4 minutes. Then we add the oil and the yogurt. You can use milk too if you want. I just use yogurt because it makes the cake better. And then we add the flour, the baking powder, and then we add the vanilla. And then we mix for the last time. And now we butter the mold. And now we put the mixture in the mold. Hint: hit it on a hard surface a few times and let the bubbles come out. And then we put it in the oven that is preheated for 375 Fahrenheit and cook it for 20 or 25 minutes. While the cake is cooking, we are going to prepare the cream. The ingredients are 3 cups of milk, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 tablespoon of starch, an egg, 4 tablespoons of sugar, a package of vanilla, 1 tablespoon of butter. We put all the ingredients in except vanilla and butter. Take the pot on the stove and mix it constantly and cook it until it becomes thick and constant. Now we check if the cake is ready. You can put a stick in it. If the stick comes out dry, then it's done. Then we let them cool. But first I'm gonna take out the mold. Carefully cut the cake from the half. Now we put the bottom base on the serving plate, and I'm going to mix the cream with the blender. Now we pour the cream on the cake with a spatula. Now I'm gonna put the bananas on it. Okay, now we're gonna put the top base on it. Leave it to rest in the refrigerator for at least an hour before serving. When the cake is rested, we're going to sprinkle it with a lot of powdered sugar. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dilara, for today's recipe. Now moving on with Islamic scholars. Today's scholar we will learn about is Ibn Khaldun. Stay tuned. Hi, today we'll be talking about the great scholar and historian Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun was many things. He was an economist, a sociologist, and much more. But what concerns us here is his work as a historiographer. Historiography is the study of how to record history and how to understand it, and many consider Ibn Khaldun to be the forerunner in the field. Ibn Khaldun was born in Tunis in 1332 CE. He traced his family's origins to Andalusia, or Muslim Spain, during the 8th century, when it was newly conquered by the Umayyads. As a child, he was educated in many things including the Quran, Arabic poetry, and rudimentary Islamic law. One of the most traumatic events of his early life was seizing of Tunis by the Marinids, a Berber dynasty from the Hafsids who were the de facto rulers of the region. Even though the Marinid control of Tunis didn't last long, the impact it left on Ibn Khaldun was permanent. Tunis had been a hotbed of intellectual activity after all the Iberian scholars that had been exiled by the Spain Reconquista had moved to Tunis. Now, however, thanks to the plague, a lot of them perished and Ibn Khaldun's learning might have been seriously affected by it. Ibn Khaldun spent the next 30 years in service of many of these city-states. He served as a high-ranking minister, secretary, administrator, ambassador, or counselor to rulers in Tunis, Fez, and many more cities and states. He also came in contact with many nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes from whom he learned their history and their differences from the settled people. During his time at these court, he was often on the losing side of political intrigue and was even jailed twice. In 1375 CE, he was tired of politics and he sought isolation. He found the isolation he was looking for in a castle, Khalat ibn Salama, near what is now the town of Franda, Algeria. There, he collected his thoughts and compiled them into a series of books. The first of these books, which is now more famous than the series, was called The Introduction or Al-Muqaddimah. The series was meant to be a universal history of the Arabs and the Berbers, but he thought that it would be better to talk about historical method before he discussed actual history, and to lay down the rules and criteria for distinguishing historical truth from fabrications. I like to think that he introduced logic to history, that if all the stories say something, but it doesn't really make sense, it's probably not true. There's many examples in the book of such stories that contradict logic. Do check it out yourself. It was first published in 1377 CE. Although Ibn Khaldun kept making revisions almost till the day he died. The 7-volume history began with the story of creation and carried through to the Muslim West, his homeland. It was finished in 1381 CE, surprisingly not that long for a book this size. In around 1382 CE, he left for a pilgrimage to Mecca. He never returned to his homeland of northwestern Africa. By 1384 CE, Ibn Khaldun was a member of the Mamluk state in Egypt, where he held various positions, one of which he held 6 times throughout his life. At the time, the Mamluk Sultanate was pretty much the only stable Muslim realm in the Middle East, post the disasters that were the Mongol horde and the Black Death. Ibn Khaldun served it for quite a while. However, he found himself tangled in political intrigue once again. In the same year, 1384 CE, a ship carrying Ibn Khaldun's wife and children sank near the coast of Alexandria, a tragedy like none other for Ibn Khaldun. Afterwards, Ibn Khaldun retired from political positions and went to teach at various schools and universities around the Mamluk Egypt. In 14 CE, Timur the Lame, or as I like to call him, Timur the Jerk, attacked Damascus. The Sultan of Egypt took Ibn Khaldun with him to deal with Timur. However, the Mamluk army and the Sultan returned to Egypt, but Ibn Khaldun was left in the city under siege. On behalf of the city's elites, Ibn Khaldun went to negotiate with Timur. He spent some 7 weeks in his camp and discussed various topics with him. It's present in great detail in Ibn Khaldun's autobiography. Timur is said to have treated Ibn Khaldun with respect and asked him about the condition of the Maghrib, northwestern Africa. Ibn Khaldun made an extensive report on it because he was such a huge fan of history. Due to this favor, Ibn Khaldun asked Timur to treat the city well and let him return to Egypt. Like his nickname, Timur the Jerk, Timur kept his promise by letting Ibn Khaldun go to Egypt, but he didn't keep his promise about Damascus, and he sacked the city, burning its great mosque down to the ground. Ibn Khaldun returned to Egypt and led the rest of his life in various positions, scholarly and political. He passed away on 17th of March 1406 CE. Ibn Khaldun's legacy in both European and Islamic world is maybe unlike anyone else. He wrote many books, like the history book Al-Muqaddimah, or Introduction, like we talked before. In this book, Ibn Khaldun proposed a system for history, rather than a linear series of stories transmitted from one to the other. The first time I read the book, I couldn't find a story that I wasn't questioning. Ibn Khaldun introduced a new way of thinking about history, and for that, his work will always live on. He gave the world many things. Even Ronald Reagan quoted him in support of what is known as supply-side economics, and claimed to have seen prophetic ideas for the fiscal problems of capitalism in his works. But perhaps the greatest thing that Ibn Khaldun gave the world was Al-Muqaddimah, or his book, The Introduction. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of Ramadan TV. Please stay tuned every day for more videos.
يا الله يا قريب يا الله يا مجيب يا الله يا حبيب يا الله يا جميل يا الله يا قريب يا الله يا مجيب يا الله يا حبيب يا الله يا رؤوف يا الله يا عطوف يا الله يا معروف يا الله يا لطيف يا الله يا رؤوف يا الله يا عطوف يا الله يا معروف يا الله يا لطيف يا الله يا عظيم يا الله يا حنان يا الله يا منان يا الله يا ديان يا الله يا عظيم يا الله يا حنان يا الله يا منان يا الله يا ديان يا الله يا سبحان يا الله يا أمان يا الله يا برهان يا الله يا سلطان يا الله.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media, and also feel free to send us a message on Instagram or Twitter. We appreciate your feedback and support. Now, Hayrettin and Yusuf will be performing another song for you guys.
Ben yürürüm yane yane, aşk boyadı beni kane. Ne akilem ne divane, gel gör beni, aşk neyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi. Derde giriftar eyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi, derde giriftar eyledi. Gâh eserim yeller gibi, gâh tozarım yollar gibi. Gâh akarım seller gibi, gel gör beni aşk neyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi, derde giriftar eyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi, derde giriftar eyledi. Ben Yunus'u biçareyim, aşk elinden avareyim. Baştan ayareyim, gel gör beni aşk neyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi, derde giriftar eyledi. Gel gör beni aşk neyledi, derde giriftar eyledi. Gel gör, gel gör, gel gör beni aşk neyledi.
We were all brought to life by an angel called Mother. To all of our mothers out there, each one beautiful and unique, thank you for being our guiding light, for always inspiring us, and for always being there for us. You are all invited to our Mother's Day program on May 10th.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Indeed, we sent the Quran down during the night of decree. And what can make you know what is the night of decree? The night of decree is better than 1,000 months. The angels and the Spirit descend therein by permission of their Lord for every matter. Peace it is until the emergence of dawn.
يا مستعان يا الله يا محسن يا الله يا متعال يا الله يا رحمن يا الله يا مستعان يا الله يا محسن يا الله يا متعال يا الله يا رحمن يا الله يا رحيم يا الله يا كريم يا الله يا مجيد يا الله يا فرد يا الله يا رحيم يا الله يا كريم يا الله يا مجيد يا الله يا فرد يا الله يا بتر يا الله يا أحد يا الله يا صمد يا الله يا محمود يا الله يا بتر يا الله يا أحد يا الله يا صمد يا الله يا محمود يا الله.
Stay tuned for the daily end of show Kahoot game. For today's arts and crafts video, let's see what Misut, Alperen, and Ife are making.
My name is Mesut Efe Ibrahim Alu. I'm in 4th grade. I'm 9 years old and I live in New York.
Hello, my name is Umit. I'm 10 years old. I live in New York and I go to 4th grade.
Hello, my name is Alvin Yavas. I am 9 years old and I'm in 4th grade and I live in Long Island.
Together, me and my friends made this Sultan Ahmed mosque, and we're gonna show you how to make it today.
The blocks we use for the mosque is smooth cord blocks with a little bit of blue concrete to add coloring. Our colors are all white and blue. We have a playground and a fountain in the middle. Inside the mosque, we have separated areas for the women, boys, and for the kids. I can explain the inside what's in.
They made a kids area that is yellow.
And then we have the men's area. And then the red parts are if there is no space in the women's and men's area, they can pray in these red spots. This is where the imam is. This is the roof, the lights. And then on top of the mosque, we have lights. And then we have all of the towers, 6 towers. And then we have the bathrooms, boys and women. This is a mosque that we did in Ramadan.
Let's share our creativity. Design your own Ramadan corner. Record your progress as you decorate. Then, send your video to juniorsacademy@tccnj.org with your first and last name along with your state. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. We wish you a happy Ramadan.
Thank you Alperen, Ümit and Efe for that great mosque you built in Minecraft. Now moving on to the Quranic verse, Hadith and quote of the day.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, chapter Ali Imran, ayat 135, the righteous, those who remember Allah and seek forgiveness for their sins when they do something shameful or wrong themselves. In fact, who can forgive sins except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And also those who never knowingly persist in doing any wrong.
Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, say, whoever of you sees something wrong should change it with his hand. If he cannot, then with his tongue. If he cannot, then with his heart. And the last one is the weakest form of belief.
Shams Tabriz was a roaming dervish and a Sufi. He was a spiritual teacher and advisor of Rumi. He stated in one of his quotes, how we see God is a direct reflection of how we see ourselves. If God brings to mind mostly fear and blame, it means there is too much fear and blame inside us. If we see God as full of love and compassion, so are we.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Murshid. I'm Kenyan. I'm a university student. And in this month of Ramadan, Alhamdulillah, being the month of Quran, I happen to be in circles of Jama'at, which is good, Alhamdulillah. They're really helping me in doing Amal. Like, I have like two Jama'ats. One Jama'at, like from different places, brothers from different localities, whom we are joining together on Zoom. We are reading together Quran, Alhamdulillah, Jews per day. And then I have my own friends whom we are staying together. Totally, we are 5 of us. And then the 5 of us, we have divided the Quran like a juz per person. And then per day. In one day, one person reads 1 juzu. And the 5 of us, in a day, we read like 5 juzu. So if we combine all of them by the end of 6 days, that is 1 khatim. So inshallah, by the end of the Ramadan, we are going to do khatim 5 times. Alhamdulillah, apart from only that, I also, with the brothers, we do exercises which to keep us fit so that don't look lazy, you know. And at the same time, I happen to be also in Turkish classes. Turkish classes, yes. Under the guidance of teacher Zeki and teacher Marshall, the 2 of them, they don't fail me in trying all they can just to guide me in learning the language. And they're really, really good teachers. If you haven't found one, please, if you happen to hear about them, just get them. They're the best teachers for now, which I'm learning Turkish. And they really helped me because up now, until now, I can speak. Merhaba, nasılsın, iyiyim. Nasıl diyeceğim? Başka var mı? Let me stop there. And for the sake of Ramadan, inshallah, let's try to do as much as we can for the sunnahs of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he has taught us. Praying of Taraweeh, that if we can. For here, alhamdulillah, we are praying Taraweeh every day with the brothers. And others, like sharing meals with maybe neighbors. You don't have, you know the gears, you know how to dress well for the corona situation. Dress nicely, take a meal and share with the neighbor. At least there are some people suffering in this situation. So inshallah, how can I say it? Ramadan is Mubarak all soon. Inshallah.
يا صادق الوعد يا الله يا علي يا الله يا غني يا الله يا شافي يا الله يا صادق الوعد يا الله يا علي يا الله يا غني يا الله يا شافي يا الله يا كافي يا الله يا وافي يا الله يا باقي يا الله يا هادي يا الله يا كافي يا الله يا وافي يا الله يا باقي يا الله يا هادي يا الله يا قادر يا الله يا ساتر يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا قادر يا الله يا ساتر يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا غفار يا الله يا فتاح يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا غفار يا الله يا فتاح يا الله
Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven?
I know you're working for us. Thank you for your service. This is for you and John.
And carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong
Yes. Thank you so much. We are so appreciative, and the officers are very hungry, and we've been waiting all week to impart all of this delicious food. So we want to say thank you on behalf of all the officers that work in this area. We want you to know that we are so very grateful, and we are so excited to meet all of you today. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
if I saw you in heaven.
I think thank you seems so minute, but I want you to know that on behalf of every officer that patrols in Zone 2, we are so grateful and appreciative that you all thought enough of us to come and feed us. So thank you for fulfilling our desires and filling up our bellies today. And thank you for these masks. And we're excited to work with all of you, and we want to just say thank you.
There you go, one. You're welcome to pick whichever one you want. Two. That one? Okay. There you go. You are all set. Bigger for you. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We want to say a special thank you for our community support for lunch for our officers that are working hard out here in Zone 2 and all across the city, as well as the donation of masks for our officers to make sure they're staying safe as we get through this COVID-19 epidemic. We thank you so much and appreciate all you do for the officers of JSO. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service.
We were all brought to life by an angel called Mother. To all of our mothers out there, each one beautiful and unique, Thank you for being our guiding light, for always inspiring us, and for always being there for us. You are all invited to our Mother's Day program on May 10th.
Thank you to our viewers from Uganda for being a part of our show, and our viewers from Florida for that wonderful video as well. The thank yous never end, right? So let's move on to Gratitude Journal.
Let's share our gratitude. Think about something you are grateful for. Write it on any kind of paper board, put it over your head, and snap a picture. Send your photographs to studentsnj@gmail.com with your first and last name along with your state. We wish you a great Ramadan.
Thank you to all our viewers who send in their gratitudes. If you can't send in your gratitudes, please leave at least a like in the video so we can see. Now moving on to the greatly awaited Kahoot competition. Tuning into Bilal.
All right. The code is 5130236. We'll begin in 15 seconds. Let's begin. Day 16. What was on the menu today? Berliner. That was really good. Had some nice powdered sugar on there. It came in first place with 965 points. Hadith of the day. Whoever sees something wrong should ... Change it with his hand, then tongue, then heart. Not talk about it, change it. I Love Siat is in first place with 1,935 points, followed by Setup with 1,930 points, 5 points difference. Next question, quote of the day. How do we see God as a direct reflection of... How we see ourselves. How we see ourselves. Set up in first place with 3,065 points. What did our friends build in the Ramadan corner? A mosque. That was a really nice mosque. Very spacious, well for, social distancing. Set up still in first place with 4,260 points. Fifth question. What was Ramadan Talks guest Yasmin A's main message? We should help others. It's so nice to help others. Honestly, it's a beautiful feeling. Set up still in first place with 5,568 points. Before we go on to the next question, tomorrow is Mother's Day, which means no, not making breakfast for your mom because we're all fasting. But you can join Kahoot. 3 people will win Kahoot. They will win a prize. And guess what? Those 3 people's mothers, they also win a prize. So 6 people will win a prize tomorrow. Join tomorrow at 7 p.m. 2,000 points. Sir of the day, the night of decree is ... Better than 1,000 months. That one night is better than 1,000 months. So guys, pray for me that night. That was probably important. Set up still in first place with 7,914 points. Number 7, Ibn Khaldun is known as... Okay, that was an easy one. Father of the modern disciplines of historiography, economics, and democracy. The only one that made actually sense. Set up still in first place with 9,289 points. Final question, true or false? Our Mother's Day special is Sunday, May 10th, tomorrow at 7 p.m. True or false? It is indeed true. So let's see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. with your moms. Play together. Maybe you'll win. Also, don't forget to hug them in the morning. Sheikh Essa, 3rd place. Berabe, 2nd place. Shout out in first place. We only award one winner a prize one time. So Sheikh Esad, message your screenshot to 202-649-0109.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. O Allah, verily I ask you by your mercy which encompasses everything to forgive me my sins. All praise be to Allah who provided food and water, caused us to swallow it, and made for it a way out. Praise be to Allah who fed me it and provided it for me with neither power nor strength on my part. O Allah, you have provided food and water in sufficiency and with some to spare. You have guided and given life, and to you is due all praise for what you have granted. Praise be to Allah, who has been gracious to us and guided us, and who has satisfied our hunger and quenched our thirst, and has brought us every goodness. O Allah, bless us by it, and feed us with what is better than it. Praise be to Allah, with abundant, pure, and blessed praise, without ever feeling sufficed from need of Him, and without our discarding or feeling independent of Him, O Lord. O Allah, shower blessings on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our master, and his family such blessings by means of which you may relieve us of all anxieties and calamities. You may satisfy all our needs. You may clean us of all evils, and thanks for which you may grant us high position and high rank and status in your presence. And you may lead us to the utmost limit of our aspirations and capacity in whatever is best in this world, as well as in the world hereafter, as you have the full power over everything. Ameen.
Amin. Asin, thank you for the prayer. Don't miss out on tomorrow's special episode dedicated to all mothers. Unfortunately, the time has come, and it is time to wrap up the show.
Thank you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Enjoy your iftar, everyone, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.